everything you need to know about products and services that can improve your life. This is Experts on Call on CL 650.
And we're back. This is Experts on Call on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. Thanks for joining us today. We're talking about insurance, and joining us in the studio from IntactInsurance, we have Patrick Magnuson along with Carmen Monroy and broker Andrew Tablotny of Laguerre Pelling Insurance in Richmond here with us today. So let's talk about something a little bit near and dear to a lot of our listeners and those who have a passion for the classic car, or maybe those in the favorable position of having a classic car collection. Anybody with a 5-car garage? What are some of the essentials that you need to know when it comes to insuring a classic car? Is this different than your basic auto plan?
Well, classic car, there's two categories. There's vintage cars and then there's collector cars. So collector cars are potentially vehicles that have been modified. A vintage car is something that's true to its form. It's what it was when it was originally built, whether it was built in 1955 or 1908. It's got the same parts and everything attached, so it looks exactly like it when it came off the assembly line. They qualify for a different category than a collector car.
Collector.
So a collector car has to be more than 25 years, or if it's a limited edition model, then you can get a collector status at 15 years as well. So it covers a wide range of vehicles. You got muscle cars, your antique tractors, classic vehicles, post-war vehicles, military vehicles, modified vehicles, your street rods, custom vehicles. Some of the replica vehicles are covered. Antique fire trucks. Vehicles when you're under restoration. So like we get calls like somebody says, well, I'm restoring a car, how do I cover it? So this program from Haggerty's covers the whole gambit in terms of dealing with that.
Well, how is a value determined on a vehicle like that?
Well, they're right across Canada and the U.S., so they've got a database on all these vehicles, so they know what it is. ICBC has generally required you to have an appraisal and to do that, and some of the other programs in the past have required you to actually go out and spend $600 or $700 for an appraisal. And what Haggerty does says, send us some pictures, tell us what you think it's worth, and as long as we'll look at it, if it fits in our database, then we'll agree to insure it for that valuation.
How does somebody get vintage plates for a vehicle?
You have to do that through the broker. So that's through ICBC. You have to take photos of it, be able to show that the vehicle hasn't been modified in any way, and then if it qualifies, then you get a vintage plate. So
are there discounts applied for vintage plates?
Well, and the collector plates as well. They're both significantly less than your basic pleasure-only sort of category. The difference is the collector plates are for vehicles that are used for special events. So like you're going to a car show, your son's graduating, you got a wedding, things like that. It's not for everyday driving, whereas the vintage plate allows you to have pleasure driving on it. So it's a different category of insurance.
Are those considered examples of the driving restrictions?
Yeah, so each one, you need to talk to your broker, make sure you understand what the restrictions are. But definitely, it's not to be driven to and from work or for business purposes or delivering pizzas, things like that. It's a specialty plate that's there for a very specific reason, which is to show the vehicle off, essentially.
So now we have a list of questions from the what if department. When you own a collector's vehicle or a vintage vehicle, what if the vehicle gets damaged while it's in storage? Or what if, there's a whole list of what ifs that could happen?
Well, again, kind of like the motorcycle policy, it's an annual policy, so they assume that it's going to be in storage. In fact, they require that it be in a inside a garage. It doesn't have to they recommend locked, but they're not going to force the issue that it be locked. But they certainly recommend that it be it has to be in a garage during when you're storing it. So if something happens when it's in there, it's got coverage on it. So.
Right. So the garage floods or whatever.
Catches fire. Yeah.
Okay. So what if you have your collector car on a trailer and you're trailering it to a show?
Same thing. If it falls off, you've got collision coverage, so it would, in that case, it would be a collision with the ground, so it would be covered.
And earlier in this conversation, you mentioned Haggerty's. Are these the specialty insurers?
So Haggerty's is a specialist. They deal strictly in this type of product. They don't insure cars for business use or anything else. They strictly insure vehicles that are collector vehicles and or antiques. That's all they deal in, and they provide packages for it. They offer other optional coverages that are available. They have a deluxe package for towing and other aspects of it as well. So again, it's something to talk to your broker to. They may or may not have that ability to write that coverage with them. So more than welcome to call our office if you're interested. But it's just like the motorcycles or Intact, it's another option that's out there in the world too.
They're the experts in that field.
Right.
For vintage, classic, all the
So you might as
collector,
well
all
get
the
the
fun
best
stuff.
coverage out there, because ICBC again they're kind of ICBC is kind of like vanilla, and Haggerty's is kind of like chocolate ice cream. So you can always buy vanilla, but if you want chocolate, sometimes you have to go to a different store to get it.
I thought they were more like Rocky Road or something specialty. Okay, before we run away, we're just wrapping up our Insurance 101 class today, and really focusing in on auto insurance. But something that we haven't touched on at all in the topic of auto insurance is how it applies to company vehicles or fleet insurance.
Fleets, those that have fleet insurance may well have fleet insurance through ICBC. Intact is also offering fleet insurance as well. The one advantage that Intact offers is that you don't have to actually have a fleet with ICBC to be able to get the fleet discount. Fleet discounts can usually run up. Normally, your discounts run in the 40 to 45% range on an individual basis. Whereas with a fleet insurance, you're looking at discounts of 60 plus that you can get on it. So it can be a savings from that perspective. One little neat package, the thing that I see that Intact is offering, is they've partnered with TELUS, and they've got the capability to put GPSs in all your vehicles. There's obviously a cost involved, but it'll monitor where your cars are, how they're being driven, and the idea is that the savings come in that your employees know that, so they're definitely going to go to their job. They're not going to stop at Starbucks for half an hour, because it'll be monitored, and they'll be driving smarter, so they won't be using as much gas and or having accidents. So.
Oh, very interesting. It's Big Brother again, keeping tabs.
Well,
that's how I see it.
Well, if you own the company, it's a cost saving, right?
Absolutely. So let's do a quick wrap up on our Auto Insurance 101 class. What are the most important things to know when researching or buying car insurance? And I think we've already established today that there are options. It's not just one provider. Yep. And one of the most important programs we've learned about is the My Auto program with Intact. So Carmen, what are some of the highlights of buying into that program?
Well, one item that I didn't mention before, in addition to obviously our claim service and coverage options, you also get cheaper rates on your auto insurance by packaging different products with us. So
like a bundle package.
Yeah. So for example, if you've got your home insurance with us, you'll get a discount on your auto, the My Home and Auto discount. Also, the more vehicles that you have written with us, the more discounts or more savings you can receive, because each auto that you place with us, once you hit 2 or more, will get an extra discount. So there's definitely benefits for placing more business with Intact. We want to reward customers for making that choice.
Is that based on the family, or is that in the same name?
Within the household.
Mm-hmm. And Andrew, you actually had a suggestion about buying an additional policy for death and disability.
It's income replacement policy, and it's not a highly sold policy, or even a lot of brokers I don't think even know about it, or because it's been around for decades, but it only applies to a small segment of the population. But under your basic insurance, you, as the head of the household, if you die, you receive $5,000 death benefit, or if you're in an accident, you get everybody qualifies for $300 in disability benefits. So if you've got group insurance, then that tops up what you maybe be losing in wages. But for those independent people that are independent businessmen that maybe don't have a disability policy, or have a significant wage, well over $300 a week, this is a way to top up for very little money. For $85 a year, you get an additional $20,000 on death benefits that's paid to your estate, and or you get an additional $400 a week. So you could be getting $700 a week as opposed to the $300 a week. So it's a way to protect yourself. Again, it's a fairly inexpensive endorsement, but it's something to look at.
All great information. And Patrick, any final words today on the topic of auto insurance?
Well, I think it summarize it best by just saying that choice matters. We're not beholden to Lord ICBC. They have to do our mandatory, but don't be complacent and ask your broker what the other coverage options are out there, not just from a price standpoint, but from a coverage standpoint, and find the policy and the coverage and the price that fits you best. That may not be the cheapest, but it might be the one that has the best coverage that fits your unique situation.
You're listening to Experts on Call on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton, and joining us in the studio today are the insurance experts. We've been speaking with Patrick Magnuson and Carmen Monroy from Intact Insurance, along with Andrew Tablotny of Laguerre Pelling Insurance. You can always get more information online at intact.ca. And Andrew, your website?
Laguerre Pelling, Legear, Pelling, like spelling with no S.com, or 604-276-2474.
And I'm confident today that we've made some of our listeners think that they need to take immediate action when it comes to their auto insurance. Ask your broker. Find a good broker and
take 5 minutes.
And take 5 minutes.
Take 10 minutes.
Take 10.
Well, I'd settle for 5.
Take a half an hour out of your day. It will be worth it in the long run. Thanks to all of our experts for joining us today. And thank you for joining this conversation on insurance on CL 650.